All right, let's talk about the creative process. There's 7 steps to the creative process, and this is wonderfully outlined in your book. So you guys are going to figure out, I love questions that have nice, easy lists. So I'm just giving you a little heads up right now. The creative process has these 7 steps: preparation, investigation, transformation, incubation, illumination, verification, and implementation. So we're going to go through these slides one by one, and let's talk first about preparation. Okay, so first, you need to kind of get your head right and have a lifetime student sort of mentality and attitude. You need to read a lot. You need to do things like keep notebooks and clip articles, and maybe I know a lot of people that keep a folder or a notebook where they tear out, this is back in the days when there used to be newspapers, but they'll still do magazines, and they get things that they'll tear ideas out, or they'll print ideas out, and they'll put them in a notebook for easy reference. And they'll build idea books. And these idea books are where they can go and they can kind of thumb through. See, a lot of times we get ideas, we see cool stuff, and we think, oh, that's really cool, I'm going to remember that. But you don't remember it because there's another cool thing that comes along in a few minutes. And so you have to have a process of organizing the cool stuff that you come across that stimulates a creative thought in your mind, because if you don't have a way of somehow documenting and retaining that, it's going to just slip through your mind and get away from you. So the idea of clipping articles could very well mean clipping out newspapers, but it could also mean printing articles off that you see cool things or interesting things on some web page or something. And discuss ideas with other people. Join professional groups. I talked about listening skills. Learn to listen to especially what your customers are telling you, because your customers are maybe the richest source of idea information that you have. But one of the biggest problems that a lot of businesses have is they don't talk to their customers enough. They sell a product, they're so focused on sell, deliver, collect the money, and then move on, find somebody else to sell to, that they don't go back and communicate with the customers that they do have and constantly listen to them about, how can I make my stuff better for you? What am I missing that I could be doing? What's the gap in my service? So listen, ask questions, listen. Eliminate creative distractions. Those are all part of the preparation that goes into building a creative and innovative company process. And then there's investigation. You have to define a problem and collect information about how to solve the problem. Basically, you have to be very clear about what your problem is. And so once you've listened and got ideas, you think you've got an idea. You think you found a niche. Well, first you have to clearly define what the problem is that you think you're going to solve, and then collect information around that. How severe is that problem? How important is that problem to people? What's the cost people are incurring? How difficult has it been? What are the solutions that are currently out there? I mean, you have to collect all that kind of information. But you got to have crystal clarity about what the problem is that you think you've identified, so that you can then investigate the problem. Once you've defined and collected the information related to how you think the solution to the problem should work, you have to evaluate the data. And here you've got 2 types of thinking that you need to be aware of: convergent and divergent. Convergent thinking is basically where you do sequential problem solving, sort of logical problem solving. A lot of what you're doing here is you're looking for patterns and similarities in the information that you've collected. Divergent thinking is a little bit more free range. It's sort of the right brain versus the left brain. In your brain, the left side of your brain is typically the mathematically oriented sequential processor, and the right side is where the random thoughts that are not inspiration and stuff like that comes, and the 2 work together. Well, divergent thinking is really more on the creative side, but your divergent thinking process can look for differences in the information that you've collected. what you're really trying to do is to look for patterns. Human brains are incredibly powerful pattern recognition machines, if you will. We're really good at seeing patterns, even in cases a lot of times where none exists. If you've ever been out to Moab, Utah, and all the rock formations, if you just sit there and look at the rock formations, pretty soon, a lot of times your mind will start trying to see, figures and faces in the different rock, because our brains are just hardwired to look for patterns in random sort of data points. So, seek the patterns that exist and consider alternate solutions. If you're a fan of detective movies like Sherlock Holmes and Columbo and Monk and all that kind of stuff, they all have different ways of going about it, but generally speaking, the information collection process tends to be getting pictures and data points about the crime scene. They put them on a wall so they can see everything, and then they just spend a lot of time looking at it and researching and digging down, trying to find the patterns, looking for, in their case, the criminal that is guilty or responsible. But they're all describing different ways of organizing information and trying to seek patterns out. So that's the essence of the transformation process, where you take the raw data and you begin to transform it into a meaningful data set. And a lot of times, usually there's a period of incubation where you have to let your conscious and subconscious work on coordinating the data. So a lot of times this kind of stuff just doesn't take place. It's not a, do step A, step B, step C. There's time involved, and you have to have time to get away from the problem. You have to have time to attack it from new directions and new angles, different perspectives. You bouncing it off ideas of other people that might see things differently is often helpful. So, they can all lead to, the light bulb moment when suddenly it does start to come together. But sometimes it's not a light bulb moment, as a series of gradual awakenings or awarenesses that you're on the right path. But usually there's a moment where you go, oh, that's the solution I've been looking for. It may not be like a brilliant flashlight bulb, but it might be, kind of a little LED light bulb. Then there has to be the verification process. The verification process is where you test really, is this really better? Does it work? And usually this involves some sort of investigation or testing with customers or potential customers and things like focus groups or in-home trials or market research. You can do a lot of that kind of stuff. There's all kinds of ways you can do that kind of stuff. But you have to go out and just make sure that the solution that you've come up with, after you've collected and analyzed all this data and gone through the verification or gone through the incubation process, is, does this really work? Is it really going to solve the problem? And are the customers really going to want it? Can we make it? Can we sell it for a profit? Will people buy it? You might try a Kickstarter campaign. I mean, that's an inexpensive way to be able to kind of test your idea in the market. And, if you think you've got a great idea, it might cost you a few $1,000s to prepare a really cool Kickstarter campaign, but you put your prototype out there. And then if nobody wants to buy it, and let's say you want to raise $50,000, you want to pre-sell. If you don't sell $50,000 worth of your $50 thing, then you say, I'm not going to do it if you can't sell it without. So you can use Kickstarter as a market test tool. And a lot of companies do that. And then you have to ask the question and answer the question. First of all, can we sell the product? And second, is there really a market out there for the product? That's what I mean. Can we sell the product? Is there really a market out there for the product? And then can we make it for the price that we need to make it to be able to sell it for the price that we can sell it, so that whatever that difference is, we can make money. If you can't make money, there's no sense in proceeding. And then finally, there's implementation. And this is the step that entrepreneurs tend to be good at, but a lot of people are not. This is, entrepreneurs are spring-loaded in the let's take action position, ready, aim, fire. Whereas researchers and academics, people that are not in a sort of a mindset to go take an action, they're going to want to continue to study the problem and collect more research. And that's, that's one of the differences, generally speaking, between most people that are in the academic world and people that are in the entrepreneur world. Academics know all the things that entrepreneurs know, but entrepreneurs are typically like, okay, I got all this figured out. Let's go make something. Let's go do something. And that's kind of the difference. So the implementation process can, again, use prototypes and test markets and that sort of stuff to be able to get out there and see if there's really a market.